The owner of a North Philadelphia gas station chain recently hired a security team armed with AR-15s, shotguns, and as you can see, they're also decked out in Kevlar vests to essentially deal with the increase in break-ins and thefts at these gas stations. In fact, in the area, armed robberies have gone up considerably, especially at gas stations. And Neil Patel, who is the owner of these gas stations, hired the private security company to patrol his Carco gas stations. And some in the community are concerned about it, but honestly, unsurprisingly, if you ask me, the majority of people in the community actually feel safer. Now, I want to live in a society where we don't need people walking around with AR-15s to make us feel safe. But this is what things have come to in Philadelphia. And one local news station actually polled their audience to see whether or not they're in favor of this. A whopping 80% responded that they are in fact in favor of this because it makes them feel safe. So Patel explained the move while speaking to local news. He says, they're forcing us to hire the security, high-level security, state level. We are tired of this nonsense, robbery, drug trafficking, hanging around, gangs, selling their drugs openly. Cops here, they won't do anything. They don't do anything. Robberies, stealings, vandalizing my car. He said that within the last few weeks, the ATM at his store had been burgled twice. He said that vandalism was also common, as were carjackings. Now, Patel hired the private security from a group called PA or Pennsylvania Site Agency Security. And I'm not really sure how this works. I would like a little more clarity on it, but apparently one of the agents said, quote, we're Pennsylvania state agents and we're not security. Basically, what we do is security details when the public calls upon us when the police can't be there, explained one of the agents, Andre Boyer. Okay, so John, I'm just gonna ask you what you think right now. I
don't know what it means that we're not security, but we do security details. What's the
distinction? So are you employed by the state? Like, how do you, who pays you?
I mean, I would assume that if it is a private security company, they've got to be certified or licensed by the state. I would assume.
Okay, well then don't
I assume it's not just a group of guys who own guns.
They're making it seem like they're government agents, but they're not.
I don't know. Yeah. There's a lot that I don't know about this story. That is a big part of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the people in the community like it, then they like it. I don't know the experience they have day to day. For me, being around people with AR-15 does not make me feel more safe or secure. I guess it's working for them. It also seems as if there could be some sort of medium ground. You could have guns nearby for the guards to go get. The fact that they have to stand 8 feet away from a person pumping gas with the rifle, like not even fully pointed down. I don't know if they were doing special stuff for the cameras, right, but it seemed odd that they were like standing in amongst everything. I guess the idea isn't just that they can use force. They want to make it very publicly so that ideally they won't have to.
Yeah.
But also, okay, the break, like ripping off the ATM, the carjackings and stuff, that's bad. When you start listing things like hanging around, I don't like the idea that they're gonna start shooting people with AR-15s because someone was hanging around or someone spray painted something.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Look, for me, the gang activity, the open drug dealing, the robberies, armed robberies. Armed robbery is not a small thing, okay?
Sure.
Someone's got a gun in your face and they're robbing you. You don't know if they're gonna shoot you or not. That's terrifying, right?
Yeah.
And also, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a business owner and he's concerned that his customers aren't gonna come back to his gas stations if they feel unsafe. So that's why he did this. And for anyone who's like, well, do we wanna live in a society like this? My answer is no, I don't wanna live in a society like this. I don't wanna live in a society where we have a 2-tiered public safety system where those who can afford private security get private security, and those who can't don't feel safe. And that is the direction we're headed in with, I don't know, at least some portion of the self-identified left saying they want to full out abolish the police. Okay, well, crime is still gonna happen. And just simply saying, okay, but root causes is not enough. Like,
well, I mean, look, you could address root causes definitely.
Yeah, let's address root causes.
But also,
no one disagrees with that. Let's address root causes.
Yeah.
Crime is still gonna happen. Crime still happens among individuals who are incredibly wealthy and privileged. So what do we do about that?
Well, I would assume that what is done about that is that the cops do their jobs when it's those people.
What do you do if cops are abolished though? If like the utopian universe that some portion of the left comes to fruition, what happens? What happens?
What I would say is that the situation that is in this story, so I looked up to see if Philadelphia had shockingly actually defunded the police by 80% or whatever, and no, they didn't.
They haven't defunded the police.
They have like an over $700 million police budget. You talked about the two-tier justice system. I would assume that the cops are still responding to crimes when it affects wealthy people in certain neighborhoods. It kind of seems like maybe that was the actual, the guy who hired this says the cops don't do anything. He doesn't say there are no cops.
No, that's true.
He says the cops don't respond.
Right, no, we have the same problem in LA.
But they do still have this massive budget.
We have the same.
And our budget's even larger, so why don't they?
Okay, well, so it's a little bit of a trick that people do that's actually incredibly frustrating because I don't know if it's the case with Philadelphia, but there are major cities who very briefly did cut the police budget, right? They did that, and then on top of it, there are all the protests and all the hate directed toward the cops. And a lot of people resigned, they quit. They're like, I don't wanna do this anymore, this is awful, I hate being a pariah in society. Bunch of people quit, and it's been incredibly hard to recruit new deputies. So there's a massive shortage of police in a lot of major cities, including Los Angeles. To be fair, I don't know if that's impacted Philadelphia specifically, but you've also seen it in places like San Francisco. So I'll give you an example. Because I looked this up, I was really curious to see if there's been an increase in people hiring private security. And unfortunately there is. So by the way, Fox 29 in Philly is the one that did the poll, and they found that 80% of the respondents said that the presence of the armed guards makes them feel safer. They asked their audience, so obviously it's not like a representative sample, but it's still interesting that 80% of them thought, no, this is good. ABC6, another local ABC affiliate in the area, found that firearm robberies more than tripled since 2020. So that's part of what's motivating the hiring of private security. Also, over the past year, several neighborhoods in Chicago have brought in private security amid a wave of robberies and carjackings. Residents in San Francisco and Baltimore have done the same. Many of those enhanced safety efforts are concentrated in, oh wow, would you look at that? In higher income communities where neighbors can afford it. Like, let's just keep it real. And they've taken it upon themselves to pay for the services. In April, residents in Chicago's affluent Lincoln Park neighborhood passed out flyers requesting $1,200 per household to cover the cost of a private patrol. Jeez. Block Club Chicago reported at the time. Community members estimated the annual cost would be $175,000. And it's interesting because I haven't noticed any change in how much I pay for my local taxes. My local taxes have not changed at all. So what's up with that? Especially considering, okay, so there is a shortage of cops in LA. So where's that money going if it's not paying for the salaries of the cops?
Well, I would assume they're accruing a massive surplus that they could use to provide bonus incentives to get more people to sign up, one would think, or increase the benefits. I mean, if you want people to do a job and they're not doing it with the conditions you're giving them, then you enhance those conditions. I mean, our budget is over $1 billion here in LA.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's super high. And the fact that people have to go out of their way to hire private security to deter crime is insane. And like most people can't afford that. My neighborhood can't afford that.
Yeah, I'm not paying $1,200.
Yeah, no way,
patrol.
No way. And to the point I was making,
$300 for a bunch of dogs. Let them loose.
And to your point, so San Francisco is one of the big cities that very briefly cut the police budget to the tune of $120 million. That happened in 2020. It was announced by Mayor London Breed. And then crime started to tick up again. They redirected that funding to other areas like social services and stuff. Then they reversed course once crime became more of a problem in San Francisco. But at that point, they had already lost a bunch of deputies. And they're having difficulty hiring new ones.
Look, there's a lot of stuff that gets caught up in that. I mean, it's not like like a budget includes many things. I'm not gonna speak for literally everyone who advocated for defund the police, but the idea wasn't just take 20% from everything. They're not like going by and taking 1 out of 5 of the guns off the cops. They're saying you don't need to be doing this sort of service, so we're gonna put the funding into something else and have them do it. That should not provide an overall reduction in the number of cops that's measurable. Having them not answer certain sort of things, that should be freeing them up to do the regular job that they're traditionally assumed to be doing.
I don't think we should move toward a privatized policing model. I see that happening. I want to avoid that. We need to reform policing in this country, okay? That's it. It's very simple. I mean, it's not simple to carry out, but in terms of what the right path is moving forward, that's the right path. Okay, austerity is not the right path. Privatizing, not the right path. Reforming, serious reform is the right path. And I don't know, I just feel like we've given up on that completely.
No, I think that a lot of people are trying to deal with it. It's complex. I mean, look, if there are areas that have massive shortfalls, then that is something that is going to take time to fix. You don't train up a cop in a day and a half or anything like that. To some extent, if the cops are doing, if cops are quiet quitting in the way that many people maybe don't remember, but during the George Floyd protest, there were cops publicly saying, we're just not gonna, in New York, we're not gonna do anything and we'll see what they think. If they're doing that, then sure, I guess we could comply with blackmail effectively. But in theory, if they're refusing to do their job, then again, part of the reform is weeding people of that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they should be fired. You're not, if you're doing a little quiet strike here, you're done, gone.
Yeah,
right?
And you may not be able to do that instantaneously. Again, you can't replace everyone all at the same time, but that should be a part of the process. Throwing more money at a group of people who have said that they're just not going to do the job probably isn't going to fix the problem.
Cops should have 4-year degrees. Okay, so they're a little more mature before they're deputies with guns. I mean, there's so many reforms that could be happening.
I'm not an expert on.
Yeah,
how exactly
there's a lot, including, by the way, how about we stop giving them military weapons? They don't need it. I mean, there's just a bunch of stuff that could happen. But again, everything, because of social media, has turned into a personal branding experiment as opposed to actually trying to find solutions to a very real, serious problem. It's victimizing all sorts of people, both in the form of police brutality, which we've been talking about, and in the case of public safety and people feeling like they don't have public safety. So we need to find real solutions and honestly, at this point, ignore the two extremes on the two ends of the spectrum on this issue. We need to find real solutions, not just listen to people who are interested in personal branding on Twitter.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.